Hey y'all, my name is Mick. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to just watch the speed paint version, I'll put a link in the description and an eye in the sky right now. I actually learned the other day that those things are called cards, but that's less fun, so I'm going to keep calling them eyes in the sky. A while back in my video about how to come back to art, I briefly mentioned that there are ways to find time in your schedule for art, but I didn't really explain them, so I just wanted to make this video where I really dive into the subject and give y'all 7 tips for how to find time to make art. I know it's kind of a weird number, but hey, the background speed paint for this is a Septimus Heap fan art, so it feels right to use the number 7. Number 1. Make an art schedule. Seriously, this is the biggest thing you can do. You have to make an art schedule and stick to it. The way of going about making an art schedule is to make note of how you spend your time normally, what your daily or weekly obligations are, etc., etc., and then find regular blocks in your week where you aren't doing anything. I think the most important thing to take away from that is that it should be a regular block of time or multiple blocks of time, but they should be recurring. For me personally, this most recent semester my classes were all over the place and I couldn't draw at the exact same time every day, but every Monday I would draw at a set time and every Tuesday I would draw at a set time. My Monday and Tuesday times would differ from each other, but having a weekly schedule meant that my brain would get into the art zone at the same time every week. And that's the thing, the longer you keep a schedule, the easier it is to keep. It'll fit right into the way your brain naturally switches through tasks. You may have noticed if you go to school or if you work on a regular schedule that your brain, I'm going to call it switching modes. Your brain will switch modes as you go throughout the day because your brain and your body are used to this repetition, which is why you're more productive if you go to work at reliable times rather than the bullshit, completely random schedules they give, like, retail workers with almost no advance notice, but that's beside the point. My point is, at first it'll be weird to do art when you're not used to doing it, but you just have to power through the phase where your brain readjusts. It's much easier to make a schedule than to stick to it, but it does get easier with time, I promise. And if you mess up at first and don't strictly adhere to the schedule, don't beat yourself up about it. I see so many people who make one mistake and then give up on whatever they're planning. That's not exclusive to art. I see it all the time with people who want to start working out or whatever else on a daily basis, and they mess up one day and are like, well, may as well just give up completely. And then they really do just give up entirely. I don't think that you should just completely ignore the fact that you missed a day, but at the same time, don't beat yourself up about it so much that you stop adhering to the schedule entirely, you know? Alright, moving on to number 2, you have to decide to do art. When you kept track of your time in that last step, did you look at your schedule and think, well, I actually don't have time to do art? If you did, is that actually true? Or are there huge spaces in your schedule that you dedicated to TV and social media and anything else that you don't actually have to do? I know that it can be important to take time for yourself, but if you spend hours upon hours a day doing that sort of stuff, you are making a decision and you're deciding to do something that isn't productive. You don't necessarily have to spend that time doing art, although that's sort of the point of the video, but I do think that you should use some of that time to do something else, something that's more fulfilling, more productive, because when you do, not only do you end up with some sort of product, that's the definition of productive, but you also feel like you've accomplished something, which I don't think is ever not a good thing to have in your day. And it pays to multitask a little bit. This isn't much of a challenge, I don't think, but I myself and a lot of other artists I've talked to watch a lot of TV and YouTube and listen to podcasts and junk, but I do it while I'm drawing. Neither of those activities, drawing and consuming media, takes up too much attention, and so it's not super difficult, but it does save a lot of time. Plus it helps me focus both on my art and on whatever I'm listening to, weirdly. There's some sort of psychological principle behind that, I know, but I don't care enough to get into it now. Also, what a tangent that would be! I'm just gonna go ahead and go right along to number 3 right now. Always have a sketchbook. I talked about this in my How to Come Back to Art video, but it's super important, so I'm going to talk about it again. A sketchbook is so flippin' useful. I don't care if you don't do traditional art. I didn't do traditional art until last year, but I did always have a sketchbook. Since middle school, I've been carrying sketchbooks around with me. Even if you don't do traditional art, you will benefit from drawing in a sketchbook. You will benefit from any drawing that you do. A sketchbook is just a good way to always have the means to make art, no matter the circumstances. This is good for anyone, but it's especially good for people who genuinely don't have time to schedule drawing. like they have no time whatsoever, not even for social media. But I guarantee you that throughout your day there will be little moments, just unplanned, quiet moments where you can draw. Maybe it's during your lunch break, or when you're waiting around for your friends, or if you arrive somewhere earlier than expected. Whatever it is, you will suddenly have time to do art. The art may just be a doodle, it might not be anything big, but it is still art, and that is still good and important. I personally keep my sketchbook open on my desk at work because so much of my job requires waiting for things, whether it's waiting for a page to load, because with our internet that can take so much time, or waiting for my boss to sign documents for me, or waiting for a team member to get back to me on something. It's just a lot of waiting around, and a lot of the time I can only draw for like 30 seconds, maybe less, but if I do that throughout the day, including my lunch break, I can have a finished piece by the end of the day. Because I like to do big, rendered, detailed drawings in my sketchbook sometimes, not because I spend the whole day on one sketch. Wow, I am moving my arms out in such a way that I look like the salesman from the Monkey Island games. What's his name? Stan? Probably. It's something boring. Just gesticulating wildly over here. Picture that in your little brain space. Anyway, number 4. You can't just do art when you feel like drawing or when you're feeling inspired. This goes along with my previous points to an extent, because you may not feel like that all the time. But if you have a schedule, I still think you should draw even if you're not inspired. Because I know that for me personally, I rarely feel like I want to draw. I rarely have the desire to draw, but I still do it. And when I'm drawing, I'm enjoying myself, but if I waited around for when I wanted to draw, I would rarely do it. Genuinely, last year, 2017, my New Year's resolution was to draw one piece a month, and I had difficulty with it because I sometimes don't get the inspiration to draw for over a month, or many months, or years in that one case. So I can't wait around for my brain to tell me that it's drawing time. I just have to do it, and now that I have a schedule, it's so much easier for me to draw because my brain wants to draw during my art time. I now have that desire because it's part of my daily routine. Listen, if you just wait around for when you want to draw, you could be waiting around forever. Take the initiative and just make something. I'm not saying you should burn yourself out or anything. In fact, number 5, quick studies and experimentation. Kind of switching up the order a bit here, but I feel like it's a natural transition. This is good for a lot of things. I've talked about it before, but experimenting and doing studies that you aren't putting much stock into is a really good way for relieving pressure from yourself. That can make it easier to return to art, or to get past burnout, or to help inspire you. Because you aren't really thinking about every single technique you've learned in your life, and you aren't thinking about this other piece that's way better than what you're working on because you probably aren't as familiar with the medium, or the subject, or the technique. It's just a way to relax and take a load off for a little bit while still making stuff and improving as an artist. They're also good if you don't have very much time and your time is split up into small segments. I know plenty of people who want to draw but don't because they want to complete whatever they're working on in one sitting. They don't want to have a bunch of works in progress piling up. And to those people, I say, A, get over that. Kinda gotta get used to having works in progress. It's fine, it's healthy. And B, there are ways to cut down on how much time you spend drawing something. Studies are one of those ways. If you're able to draw every day but only for, 15 minutes a day, and say you want to draw one specific thing, it may take you way more than 15 minutes to draw a detailed piece for your first time ever drawing it. But if you just spent the past week doing quick studies and getting an idea of the form and what's important when it comes to drawing that thing, then you're going to be able to draw a detailed piece much quicker. Trust me, I speak from experience when I say that studies make things so much easier. The fastest way to get fast at drawing something is to draw it over and over. And experimentation too. If you're like me and you spend way more time than you need to on drawings, you can experiment with new techniques that are faster. Or experimenting with anything really. It's low pressure and it can be fast because there's no pressure to create a finished piece or pick back up on whatever you were making at a later time. It's just something that you can do and it can help you make art faster. Thinking about it now, I actually have a lot of ways to make art faster. Maybe that'll be a future video. Number 6, give your art a purpose. This one is good if you're struggling with giving things up in order to make time for art. It's a lot easier to prioritize making art if there's a reason to do it, if you have a goal with your art. That goal could just be some sort of project like a webcomic or a series of paintings or something, or a goal could just be, I want to make one fully rendered piece of art a week. Whatever the goal is, it'll make it easier to justify to yourself why you should be making time for art. Some people don't need that justification. They are perfectly fine with making art for art's sake, but I know that for me, that is not the case. I need to have a schedule, I need to be trying to meet goals, I need to constantly have something pushing me to do art or I won't do it. Despite how much I enjoy art, I will do whatever I can to put it off as much as possible. So if you're like me, try starting a project or setting goals for yourself. I mean, make sure they're realistic goals because it'll do you no good if you set goals that it'll be impossible for you to meet. But making it so that when you're making art, you're accomplishing something, you're working towards something, makes art feel more fulfilling and can help you do things like give up TV or whatever unproductive thing you do that you don't want to give up in order to do art. And lastly, number 7. Think of yourself as an artist. If you make art, you are an artist. You don't have to be a professional artist to be an artist. That's why you have to qualify the term with the word professional to set it apart from all the other types of artists there are. I'm sure as fuck not a professional artist. Art is just a hobby of mine, but that doesn't make me any less of an artist. Back when I was drawing, not even every month, maybe every 2 or 3 months, I was still an artist. Changing your mindset and changing how you view yourself can really be beneficial and can help you get motivated. So there you go, 7 tips to help you find time for art. Now, I know this isn't going to help everyone. Sometimes you really don't have the time to make art, but hopefully this video was able to help some people, because I know that if you've never had an art schedule, it can be hard to figure out how to find time to do art. So thank you all so much for watching, and thank you to everyone who participated in Midsummer Week this past week. I had a blast doing it, and I love seeing what all of y'all made. I'll see y'all in my next video. Bye!